I don't like it. I just don't follow it. I don't pursue it. I don't like it. I don't, it's just, I have no idea. But the bottom line is, yeah, if she has nobody else out there to fight, she's got to continue waiting to see. I mean, you want competitive fights, whether you're male or female. So if the pool is that thin or that little that she can choose from, or that promoters could see building the anticipation of a good fight, then I don't know. I don't know. She's got to look at different weight classes.
I want to welcome all of our YouTubers right now. Apparently, we were having some trouble. I want to thank my man Johnston, who just brought it to my attention in our chat room. We were having some technical difficulties. We are live. We have been live for the last half hour. So I apologize for you missing. But today, because we've been away, we are doing our whole show today commercial-free. So that was the good news. We just finished talking about the fights from this past weekend. Clarissa Shields, both Sal and myself feel that either she's that good or there's no competition. I mean, she looked really, really fantastic in her demolishing Nikki Adler this past weekend on Showtime. We also talked about Jesus Soto Karass not looking good. Maybe time to hang it up in his loss to Mauricio Herrera. And, of course, we talked about the Lomachenko fight and how great he looked. And we wonder if there's any competition for him. So this is what we had been talking about leading up to where we are right now. Again, I apologize for that. I want to thank my man Johnston for letting me know that we were having some yet other problems. We seem to have all these issues all the time because Facebook, we were streaming live on Facebook Live. They haven't missed anything over there. In the event that you guys have trouble on YouTube, you can always check our Facebook Live. We do simulcast. Now, it's not the same. It's not the same show in a sense because of the video. You don't have the full video on Facebook Live, but we'll see what happens. But the fight, we'll touch again, Sal, on the Lomachenko because of the YouTube audience that missed out. Like I was saying earlier, Lomachenko is such a good fighter. He's a great fighter for a guy with only a few fights. But like we were saying earlier, is there any competition for this guy? I mean, is there going to be somebody in this weight class? Does he have to move up? I mean, what do you think is next for him?
I think they're going to have to see who is in that pool of fighters on the upper echelon of that weight class that's going to be able to challenge him. And as you said, he's got to challenge himself. And that's when, you start looking at other weight classes and who you want to move up against and who you want to fight. And nowadays, when these weight classes are just divided by 5 or 6 pounds, it's not that big of a feat. I think he's going to probably... we're going to be hearing of that probably within the next 6 months to a year. This year, he'll probably be leaving that weight class. Who knows? Yeah. He's that good on a lot of levels. He really is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that you're right. I mean, like we were saying, he displays it all. I think he does have to tighten up his defense a little bit. But, I do believe he's the top fighter today. I really do.
He's so complete. He's very good. He's very good. He's a pleasure to watch. And like you were saying, I mean, you and I have talked about him before. The guy does things in there that could be looked at difficult. He does it so fluently, so easily. And what I love about him is, he moves. He's here, and where he moves, he's still in position to punch. And he's effective at that. That's why, he doesn't have to be necessarily a knockout artist. But the way he delivers a good punch and catches you off guard, and he just breaks you down. He makes you feel like, wow, where am I? So, like I said, he's entertaining. He's a great fighter. And, one day maybe he'll be a household name.
Well, he wants to be.
I know he does. Right? And, Billy, that's what I've always said, We grew up, you and I, at one of the eras of boxing when, again, I use this this explanation. Maybe it's not credible, but we knew a lot of the domestic fighters, and I tell you, we've gotten a plethora of fighters from around the world that are now holding belts, holding titles, and it's not about the U.S. So when your home country loses a lot of the spotlight because their fighters, their contenders, their champions aren't holding the belts as they once did, and there's twice as many weight classes, and there's twice as many sanctioning bodies. It's hard to keep track. I mean, I almost bit my tongue when you said you excuse me for pronouncing his name, but we can't even pronounce some of the names. I mean, because we got to see them day in, day out. We got to get used to them. We got to know that they're here to stay, and it's just a different pool of fighters from around the world. That's why we do the analogies. Well, boxing years ago in the U.S. was like this or that, and then watching how many fights or how many title fights. Yeah, maybe the boxing domestically has expanded worldwide, and I think we got to use the worldwide pool of totals to now compare boxing how it is today to how it was then. You notice since we have no break, I brought my pot here to me too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that the only way that fighters can prove that they're the best is to fight other great fighters. And here's a great example. Now, we haven't been here in a while, so we haven't had a chance to discuss a fight that I loved every
Me
round.
too, and I know where you're going, pal.
And Mikey Garcia against Adrian Broner.
Yes.
I mean, what a fight that was. And let me tell you, I talked to you before you watched that fight, and I said, when you watch this fight, you are going to love what you saw with Mikey Garcia. And I said that Mikey Garcia was going to become your new favorite fighter. Is he?
Yes, he is. He is. You know what? He's let's get down to business. I'm going to leave my lunch pail here while I go do my work, and I'll come back later. And let me tell you something. I love this guy. He is just what you told me he was, and from a textbook and a standpoint, almost to a fault. He just went in there all business, didn't worry about the hype, didn't worry about the rhetoric, didn't worry about the bull crap that you listen to, go building up a fight. Because remember, that's all the promotion and all the other aspects and all the camps releases and all this stuff. He just went in there, focused, blinders on, did his thing, hands up, move his head, jab, connect, get the distance, and deliver punches. And he put on a clinic. And not taking away from Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner had a few moments, had a few opportunities, but he never let him get in the fight. From the first round, which I was very generous, even scoring it. I said, well, maybe we can give this as a draw, because Adrian Broner was at least trying to pop the jab, move his head, looking good. But Mikey Garcia was just like the matador in there, just coming and just plugging along and just hitting, just getting his distance and putting on a textbook clinic. I mean, getting Broner against the ropes and banging him to the body, bringing up to the head, finding the opening between with the uppercuts, and beautiful. I love Mikey Garcia. Punches bell to bell, does his job. Doesn't say much afterwards or before. He just lets his fist do the talking. Thank you very much, Mikey Garcia. I'm a big fan.
Again, I just want to mention to the YouTubers, you guys missed the whole first part of the show where we talked mostly about Lomachenko, unfortunately. But right now we're going back a week. We're talking about Mikey Garcia against Adrian Broner, which was probably one of the better fights of the year so far. Here's what I see. Adrian Broner, I tried, forget his personality. I think he went down the wrong path, so I'm not a big fan of what he's become in that sense. But as a fighter, I've always been giving him the benefit of the doubt. I thought that he was a talented fighter, especially at lightweight. I think his dedication to the sport, his discipline has definitely sunk, although he did make weight. He actually came in lighter than Mikey Garcia on this fight. But the difference is, and I said this to you, Sal, and it reminded me of a middleweight that I had one time, and this guy would be a killer in the gym. I mean, he would spar with heavyweights, and this guy was an animal. But when a real fight happened, he had a tendency of doing what his opponent does. if his opponent threw 2 punches, he would throw 2 back. If his opponent threw 4 punches, he would throw 4 back. It was like he was, showing a guy that he could do what he could do to him, And as a result, he got a lot of draws and a lot of close decision losses. And he always used to complain, I was robbed. And I used to say, no, you weren't robbed. Because if a fighter hits you twice, you got to hit him 4 or 5 times back. If your opponent hits you 5 times, you got to hit him 7 or 8 times back. That's how you win a decision, especially if you're the B side or if you're traveling to a guy's hometown, et cetera, et cetera. That's exactly what Mikey Garcia did. When Adrian Broner started, some type of offensive blast, Garcia would neutralize him and come back and work him. He broke him down. We were talking about Lomachenko earlier, Sal. How about Mikey Garcia working the body, breaking him down? How about Mikey Garcia cutting the ring off? I thought he did a fantastic job against Adrian Broner, controlling where Adrian Broner was. Adrian Broner kept shaking his head, saying, "No, you didn't hurt me. You didn't hurt me. You didn't hurt me." But he kept going backwards. He had to keep reloading. He was never comfortable in that fight. And, Mikey Garcia did what he had to do. He knew that they were going to rob him of that fight if he didn't do exactly what he did. I was glad, pleasantly surprised to see the scorecards represent how that fight really was. I mean, 117, 111, and 2 of the judges had it 116, 112 is exactly how that fight went. As a matter of fact, I scored it 117, 111. I don't think that, I don't even think Broner won many rounds at all. Maybe the first one. But
maybe the 9th and the 1st, that was it.
And Steve Farr didn't even give him the first one. Mikey Garcia. And the thing I like about Mikey Garcia is he's like, listen, I want the big fights. I'm moving back down in weight to my regular weight class. But, hey, if the big fight comes at 147, I'll fight 147. If it comes at 140, I'll fight at 140. Right now he's still a lightweight champion, So kudos to Mikey Garcia. He's got to be discussed in the pound-for-pound rankings as well. He has to be. They're talking about, Andre Ward. Andre Ward, beat Kovalev. Since the Super 6, Andre Ward has beaten Kovalev. That's the big fight we want to give him credit for. But by beating Kovalev, especially after Kovalev's second performance against Andre Ward, was Kovalev that good? Yeah, I thought he was good against all the rest except for Andre Ward. But does that catapult him as a pound-for-pound number 1? I think you can make a strong argument that either Mikey Garcia or Vasyl Lomachenko should fall ahead of Andre Ward when it comes to the pound-for-pound list. What was your thoughts on Garcia's performance, how he did it, and where should he be on the big pound-for-pound list, Sal?
I think he should be there. I'm not saying he's unbeatable. I think there's things he still has to work on, but he's definitely I don't see anybody that he's going to face in the next year or so that's going to beat him. I think he should be up there, definitely up there. And Andre Ward, not taking it away from him. Yeah, we saw his 2 best performances in the last year against the same opponent. And definitely Vasyl Lomachenko, like I said, he's got to be thrown in the mix. And now Mikey Garcia's got to be thrown in the mix. He put on, like I said, a textbook clinic. He came in to fight. He was conditioned to punch bell to bell for 12 rounds, and he respects the sport of boxing, and he's a student of the sport of boxing, but he's also going to be a teacher of the sport of boxing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Love his corner. At the end of the fight, I mean, he gave Broner credit, and to Broner's credit, Broner gave Garcia credit, but he still is not. He's still in a delusional world when it comes to his drawing power and how many people he thinks love him and all this. Because I'm not so sure. I think his value's going down. I think he kind of, and no disrespect to Mikey Garcia because I think he's an exceptional fighter. I think that Adrian Broner might have become what I think you said last time we were on air. Maybe that gatekeeper, so to speak, and I know it's all about billions with him, but it ain't happening.
I was just going to say, it's no longer about billions. I can't believe that. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like I said, that's not my kind of style, but it doesn't have to be either. But it doesn't turn me on to be a fan of his.
Now, the other fight that was on that card, the Garcia Broner fight, was Jermall Charlo. And, I'm so sick of the Charlos. And I'll tell you why. The Charlo brothers are talented fighters. From what we see, they're talented. But there's an asterisk next to them. Because I have yet to see a Charlo brother fight a guy that's the same size as them. Now, if this means that the Charlo brothers collectively, and specifically I'll talk about Jermall because he's the one that fought Highland a couple of weeks ago, if this guy can just naturally make the weight, and this was a middleweight fight, if he can make that 160 pounds and then add on an extra 20 pounds, that's what's happening. Charlo has yet to be in a fight with a guy that, in my opinion, is equal to him in size. And he's going to get that with his next fight because his win against his opponent, Jorge Sebastian Highland, a couple weeks ago, has earned him the mandatory shot at the champion, the winner of the Triple G and Saul Canelo Alvarez fight, even though Alvarez has refused to fight for the WBC portion of that card, of that unification fight. So Charlo would be stepping in with an Alvarez or a Triple G, whoever wins that fight, and we'll get to see him for the first time. He just doesn't impress me because it seems bullyish to me. These guys that are fighting, and it happened again, this past weekend. I thought that even Lomachenko was bigger than Marriaga. I would just like to see a fight, Sal, aside from the heavyweight division, where we have legitimate weight classes fighting the same size guy. I mean, the Charlo brothers. It's sad to watch how much disparity there is between the two fighters inside that ring. It just looks like a bigger guy fighting a little guy. I mean, that's not interesting to me.
No, and like I said, Bill, I'm the old school, and man, they got to bring back those same day weigh-ins. Maybe you can get a 5 to 10 pound difference there, but you're not going to see the 20 to 30 that you might see 24 hours later. I don't know. There should be another argument for same day weigh-ins.
Well, we certainly would get to see, real weight classes. But
yeah.
One other fight on that card, which I was wrong on, Jarrell Miller beat Gerald Washington in a battle of two heavyweights. Miller improves to 19-0 with a draw with 17 knockouts, and Washington loses for the second time in his career. It was going back and forth, this fight, and both fighters were hurt, and Washington's corner decided to stop it after the eighth inning. I'm not so sure I agree with that. It's all about the safety of the fighters, which I do agree with, but when are they going to let these guys fight? I mean, it goes back to everybody gets a participation trophy. I was watching those races, and not too long ago, and the young racers feel like they already deserve to be in the number 1 or number 2 spot just because, and it's like, what doesn't these younger athletes feel they got to earn their spots, and I don't know. I mean, Gerald Washington, that was a career fight for him. Unless he was in some serious trouble, which I did not notice from my comfortable seat. Maybe the corner did notice. They know their fighter better than anyone. Stopping the fight, I guess it's always better to stop a fight too soon than too late. But Sal, when you have such an important fight on the line against a fat pig like Jarrell Baby Miller, who really has only displayed punching power, and you had hurt earlier in the fight. Washington had hurt Miller in this fight. Why not let it go? I don't know. To me, that Gerald Washington's career might very well have been sidelined with that loss.
I think you're right, and it's a contrast where we saw the other night in the Lomachenko fight when the corner stopped the fight. You can have an argument there because the guy was not surmounting any kind of offense, and it was a one-sided fight. But that, is something that, I'm always a fan of letting the fighters continue and let them do what they got to do. That's what they're paid for. That's what we do. That's what we choose to do. I mean, it's not a safe sport, by the way. Let me tell you about the world of boxing, okay? You know this going in. So I'm the type that you said, hey, you know what? If you can continue, you can continue to fight. That's why you're a fighter. You try and go against the odds.
For anybody that's just joining us, we did have some issues with our YouTube version of the show. Everybody that's watching us on TV and actually our Facebook Live simulcast has all seen the entire show. So we apologize if you're watching via YouTube live or on demand. We did talk about the Lomachenko fight as the first portion of the show. We are doing today's show fully commercial free. So it's a little thank you because we know we've been away for a little over a week, so we apologize for that. I got some emails, Sal, and this one's from, I actually have a couple here from my man Mitch. This first one says, Deontay Wilder was never, and some of these were sent to me last week, like this one. He says, Deontay Wilder was never going to fight the Cuban. That was just something to print. The Cuban has been off too long, which would have played into Wilder's favor, and Wilder's coming off a layoff due to an injury, not in Wilder's favor. He says, I'm also checking the dates, and they don't match up. I speculate that Team Wilder knew Povetkin failed his drug exam before they caught their plane to Europe. But in an effort to have a nice vacation and to appear to be brave enough to fight in Russia, Wilder's team took the trip as if there was going to be a fight. There was no way he would have got to that late date in training in England without being informed earlier about Povetkin's test. Then the reports came out. The perception is to keep fans thinking Wilder's brave and ready to step up against any top heavyweight. Oh no, he'll fight Stavern and beat him again, or Adam Kaunaki, just as you predicted, Billy C. I've always called Stevenson's boxing's biggest fraud, but at least Adonis fought Thomas Talkdog Williams, who was a threat, Tony Bellew, and Fonfara, at least the first version. Wilder Ortiz ain't going to happen. It'll be Stavern and Kaunaki, or Kaunowski as they pronounce it, as the favorites, and Washington now that he beat Baby Miller. And you could also look at Charles Martin. Either way, I can't believe. Oh, wait. He says, either way, I can believe you fell for the Wilder bait and switch. Check that. Yes, I can. Whoever writes his press releases needs to be overpaid like Heyman does his fighters because that person earns their money. Wilder's a fraud. And he says, by the way, it wasn't Top Dog's father who died in the car accident. It was his stepfather, Ronald Peterson. That was something that Dax was talking about last week. But, Sal, there's come more on Deontay Wilder, which we'll get to probably tomorrow, but I might as well dabble in it right now. I have not heard an official announcement that Wilder-Ortiz will or will not happen. I have not heard an official announcement on any fight of Deontay Wilder, but what I did hear from Wilder's lips is that he's trying to call out Anthony Joshua because, as we're going to talk about here in a little bit, because of retirement issues with Klitschko, Anthony Joshua now was ordered to fight one of his mandatory challengers for one of the belts that he has, the IBF version. And in the middle of all this, Deontay Wilder, trying to keep his name in the press, has issued a challenge calling out Anthony Joshua, saying, forget the belts, let's fight. Now, if this were true, I would love it, because I can't see Deontay Wilder's team letting him fight AJ. AJ is the best heavyweight on the planet right now. Deontay Wilder does not stand a chance in hell against Anthony Joshua. But if Deontay Wilder and his fan base, who believes all the media and all the bull BS, just like Mayweather, they'll think that Wilder was man enough to challenge AJ. And no matter how come the fight doesn't happen, they'll blame AJ. I think Deontay Wilder, I've said it all along, no disrespect to him as a human being, because I think he fights for all the right reasons, but he's a fraud. And it may not even be his own fault. It may be the people around him. He's the most parallel character to Harder They Fall. I mean, it's fact to me. I've yet to see him in a fight with a real fighter. And to be honest with you, I predicted that he would fight Adam Kownowski after he beat Spitzker recently. I said, I came on the show that next Monday and said, you guys just saw the next opponent for Deontay Wilder. And then I was throwing the curve, like this email suggests, when Ortiz came out. What's your thoughts on all of this? Can you follow the bouncing boxing glove or what?
I can. Thank God my intellect and my faculties are still there. But you were bouncing, man. I'm going. Yeah, I got it. And I haven't even had my second cup of coffee yet. Styles make fights. I always say that. And Deontay Wilder against an Anthony Joshua, I think we're going to see a fight. And I'll tell you what. We have. I love. I got a story for you. You want to talk about a bouncing ball? I got a story for you. You have to give me 5 minutes later, because you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It happened last night at my restaurant, but what happened also over the weekend at my restaurant? Because we talk fights all the time. We get a pocket of people in from Tennessee. Boom, we're talking Deontay Wilder, and that's his home state. And these people love him. And they believe in him. When I said, I think Anthony Joshua's gonna, they said, what, really? There are those people out there that just love their fighters, and they should. And then, like I said, it's great to see that people are passionate, that they think their guy's gonna be a world beater. And Deontay Wilder, let's even for a minute think that he's been the product of the harder they fall model, that he's been, like you were saying, no fault of his own, but his management, his team, his promoters, they kind of leverage him into a position where the odds are in his favor to come out being the winner. And that's what they do. But with that being said, and if that's even what they're doing, maybe this guy has got some skills and some talents that we haven't seen before, because he hasn't been tested to that degree yet. So let's say you maneuver your fighter and you are waiting to get him to a position that you may not have been able to get him to the top of the mountain any other way. And now you're going to put him in and see what he could do and let all his skill come out and be shown and attributes that we did not see in the past, because the level of his competition didn't make him have to dig deep enough to do it. So maybe we could see that kind of fight with an Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I mean, the guy's got a jab, the guy can move, he's got some power. So I can't just say with the Anthony Joshua that it's going to be a quick knockout or something here that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a contest where we're going to finally see either Deontay Wilder putting up or shutting up, and that's it. It's going to be, like you said, the harder they fall. He's going to either show us that he's had all this all along, he's never been tested enough to pull it out from within his spirit and his skill set and everything else, or he's going to be knocked out. Either one. Well, that's what fighting's about.
I think we saw the best version of Deontay Wilder when he fought Berman Stavern. And, the thing about that fight was I think, that he was scared to get hit. As a result, he followed Mark Breland's game plan to perfection. and he did display boxing ability. He did display, a brain in the ring. He used the ring, used his height and reach advantage, and he won the fight, ultimately the championship. But when he's in there with fighters that he's supposed to knock out, that's all that's on his mind. And he goes in there, and he looks very flawed. He looks easy to hit. He looks uncomfortable in there. He looks unstable. And I'm not suggesting he's going to fight Anthony Joshua or even Luis Ortiz like that. He would have to fight either one of those guys very respectful. But could it be a cash-out situation? Could Team Wilder say, listen, the Pickens, we can't keep feeding these guys cupcakes anymore. He's going to have to fight either Ortiz or AJ. Which fight will make us more money? And the answer is AJ, because the fight against Anthony Joshua could take place in England, and Deontay Wilder and the rest of the guys that have their hands in his pockets will make a hell of a lot more money fighting AJ than they will Luis Ortiz. And the risk of fighting Luis Ortiz is too much because, if Wilder, the only advantage that Wilder has for fighting Ortiz is if he beats Ortiz. Because if he beats Ortiz, now all of a sudden his stock goes up, and immediately have a fight against AJ in England isn't as much of a layup as it would be if Wilder gets Luis Ortiz on his resume. Now all of a sudden, or Wilder could say, you come over here and fight me. There could be negotiation. There could be a 50-50 type split. But right now, for Deontay Wilder to go directly to AJ, to me, that screams, let's cash out. Let's see how he does. Let's throw the dice and see if he can land a power punch. Because let's face it, Deontay Wilder's got the pop. I just don't think he's as good as he thinks he is inside the ring. And I don't think he beats either one of those two. And the last guy I want to see him fight is Jarrell Miller. Although I would like to see Adam Kownowski fight Jarrell Miller. There's a good fight. And the winner of that earns something, I think. What do you think?
I want to see that fight. I want to see Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua. That's the fight I want to see. And you know what? I want to see how he trains, how he gets up for this fight and makes it a fight. And believe me, I don't know if Anthony Joshua has the best chin in the world either. And but he got hit by Klitschko, and he went down and he recovered. To his credit, he recovered brilliantly.
Well, how many fighters have recovered from a Klitschko getting a knockout from Klitschko?
No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. But if Anthony Joshua was in the ring with Deontay Wilder, I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be an entertaining fight, and whatever questions we may have with either side, with either fighter, I think we'll find some answers. That's all I'm saying. I think it'll be a good fight. I would like to see that fight.
Well, I hope so.
Me too.
We'll see what happens. But another email from my man Mitch. He says, not to be funny because these wet behind the ears guys who use words like journeyman and gatekeeper incorrectly. But when you look at the fact that this guy probably lost to Fernando Quintero, Daniel Ponce de Leon, Paulie Malignaggi, and Adrian Granados, and mix it in with actual losses to Sean Porter, Marcus Medina, and now Mikey Garcia, can we at least think of calling Broner a gatekeeper? And I agree. I just said that, Sal. I agree with Mitch 100%. He says, how about AB against AB? That would be Andre Berto against Adrian Broner. He says, and as bad as it sounds, I'll lay a nice amount of change on your boy Berto. After all, he has your boy Virgil Hunter as his trainer. And speaking of bad trainers, Saddam Ali can't get out of the way of a right hand. Andre Rozier is going to get this kid killed once he steps up. Yeah, I think the two worst trainers in boxing right now, Virgil Hunter and Andre Rozier. So Mitch is on me for that. That's for sure. And I say this about Virgil Hunter because. And maybe this isn't fair of me, but you take Andre Ward out of the mix. There's no denying his success with Andre Ward. But Andre Ward, it's like looking at Floyd Mayweather Jr. and saying that Floyd Mayweather Sr. is the greatest trainer of all time because of the success of Floyd Mayweather Jr. And that's not entirely true, because even though I feel that if you could go back in a time machine, Floyd Sr. could beat Floyd Jr. That's my opinion, only because he had more pop. But Floyd Sr., the rest of his trainees in boxing have never amounted to what Floyd has. So Floyd Jr. has to get credit for bringing a lot of talent to the table for Floyd Sr. to work with. Well, the same has to be said for Virgil Hunter and Andre Ward. I mean, Andre Ward brings a lot of talent to the table, and ultimately Virgil Hunter was put on the he's a good trainer because look what he did with Andre Ward. I think that a lot of it is that versus his success with other fighters. I mean, I think Amir Khan just woke up from his knockout. He's supposed to be this defensive guru. I just think he's overrated. And Andre Rozier, come on, I've been telling people this. This guy, he's another version of Virgil Hunter. I mean, this is a guy that they're talking philosophy in the corner when they're supposed to be telling them what to do. The philosophy discussion happens in training, not during the fight, Sal.
I know, and there's a special relationship between a fighter and a trainer, and they have to know each other, and they have to really trust each other. And I'll tell you what, I often use the term the cart, or what came first, the chicken or the egg? Does the fighter make the trainer, or the trainer make the fighter? I think it's a combination. I think you have to have a world-class fighter to be molded or to be guided and have his attributes brought out or emphasized and negate any of the bad things that he may be doing that could hurt him. And I think a good trainer could help promote that. They can help build that with a good fighter. Like I said, I'm not taking away from Freddie Roach, but I don't think he's the answer to everyone that put a Freddie Roach in a corner and you're going to win. It's not going to happen. The same thing with this situation right here. And you can even make an argument. One of the most successful trainers in the history of boxing, had parlayed his name, his reputation, and parlayed also with world-class, world-beating talent, was Angelo Dundee. I mean, Angelo Dundee probably trained some of the most famous fighters in the world. But guess what? These fighters had talent, they had ability, they had skill set that was above the upper echelon and really world class. And so it's a combination. But just because Virgil Hunter is this good with this guy, he's not going to necessarily be able to make gold out of silver with another guy.
No, listen, I use the analogy all the time. Kevin Rooney, a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Haven't seen him in quite a while, as I'm thinking of him right now. But this was a guy that was regarded as a great trainer with Mike Tyson. You had the right fighter with the right trainer, and the end result is 100% success. But you take that fighter away from that trainer, and we saw what happened with Mike Tyson. And then on the other side, we saw what happened to Kevin Rooney. He never had the success that he had with Mike Tyson. I worked with him closely with a fighter named Leonard Pierre. And this kid was talented, but never made it, as far as Mike Tyson. So, you need the right guy with the right guy. I mean, there's no question about that. And this is what bothers me, that they all of a sudden give the accolades to a guy like Virgil Hunter because of his success with Andre Ward, and he hasn't been able to duplicate that success with anyone, anyone else. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. One last email from Mitch, and then I got one more here. He says, man, you're right. Geez, these guys have to go. Regrettable injury. Now, he's referring to the announcement that Durrell has backed out of the David Benavidez fight, and it was reported, I'll get to that a little bit later, it was reported based on a regrettable injury. No other No other explanation was given. The Durrell brothers. This is what goes back to what I was saying before, Sal, about the Charlos. The fights today are not 50-50 fights. And, I can accept it when you're moving a fighter along and you're growing that fighter in a sense. They're learning their skill. You're putting them in or her in with opponents that they're supposed to look good against and beat. And you want to put them against opponents that, basically mirror what you're working on with him or her in the gym, et cetera, et cetera. I understand all the reasons, trust me. But there comes a time when that fighter has evolved from an amateur to a pro to a prospect to a contender. Now it's up to that fighter to start fighting real fights and being in situations where they can prove that they're the better fighter. Well, the Charlo brothers are always in with smaller guys. So I don't know. And although they're in great shape and although they look good, they're always in with smaller guys, less talented guys. So, have we seen the real Charlo brothers, and the same has to be said for the Durrells. Both Andre and Anthony Durrell, they not only do their teams bring a lot of trouble with them when they go to fights, these guys have been less than spectacular when they're in with the big names or even top dogs of their division. And to come up with an injury that's regrettable, that's not reported. Injuries are so questionable now. You hate to question a fighter when they're injured because I'm the first guy to, bitch and moan at Manny Pacquiao for complaining about his shoulder injury when he fought Floyd, when he shouldn't have fought Floyd if he had an injury. Floyd would never get in. If Floyd is injured, the one thing, whether you like Floyd Mayweather or not, the one thing you can always bet on with Floyd Mayweather, and I don't care if he's 40 years old or 100 years old, Floyd Mayweather will not get in that ring unless he's 100% health-wise, unless he's 100 or at least 95% sure that he can beat his opponent that he's in there with. And I'm not just talking about, having confidence. I'm talking about 95% sure, he's not going to get in the ring with anybody that has even a small chance of beating him. So if Manny Pacquiao truly had suffered an injury in training, then he should have not stepped in that ring and fought Mayweather. So even him making excuses, I can't stand it. And it seems like the Durrell brothers are going down that path, Sal.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. If it's going to be that same path, it's going to be a short path, and they'll find the answers like we all do. But I know where you're coming from, and I agree.
One last email. This one's from my man Chris Flan. Yeah, haven't heard from him in a while. He was a guy that used to play our challenge a lot. But he says, "Hey Billy C, did you see the ESPN?" Did you see ESPN's podcast made a 30 for 30 on James Scott? It's pretty interesting and real sad. He says, but your piece on him 2 years ago was way better. I still can't believe HBO, CBS, and NBC would allow a prisoner to fight from prison. Times sure have changed. I still listen to you guys as much as I can. I used to be a loyal member of the Billy C Challenge. Thanks for all the years of entertainment and the boxing history education. Thanks, Chris. We appreciate you still listening. And we do plan on getting that challenge back, so stay tuned for that. But we did a blast from the past on James Scott. He was always
Rawway, right? Rawway,
right? Yeah, he was always one of my favorite fighters.
He was a good
intriguing,
solid fighter.
Well, he's out now. He was in jail for life, and then he got out. Life doesn't always mean life. But yeah, we did a blast from the past on him. So if you search our archives, I'm sure you can find it. It's pretty interesting. But some other news that we'll touch on real quick here. Sal is, well, let's see. We'll do that. I guess what we have to do is, see, we have all these retirements have come up and all this stuff that I wanted to talk about. But you know what? Let's talk about what's going on with the. We'll give everyone an update on. Let me just. Vladimir Klitschko's retired. He's.
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I can't believe I heard that over the weekend. Yeah. And I tried calling you, by the way. Anyway, so I'll tell you, that came out of left field. I heard that. I said, come on, forget about it. And I also heard the rumor that Floyd Mayweather got arrested and had to go to TMZ or one of those stations to find out it was just a rumor. Go ahead.
Well, Klitschko retired, and I do agree that that Klitschko had nothing left to prove. You know why? I mean, I know there's $20 million on the line that he could have made with a rematch, but you know, he retired, and I think that no fighter, especially a dominating fighter like Klitschko was, wants to go out the way he did. But at the end of the day, he's got this gorgeous wife. He's got a new kid. He's got all the money he wants. He's 41 years old. You know, he's got all his faculties. He's got nothing left to prove. He controlled the heavyweight division for almost a decade. I think he made the right decision. Also, some other retirees. How about Juan Manuel Marquez? He officially announced his retirement over the weekend. He's going to be 44 now. He was scheduled to fight in later this month in August. But for a guy that's been out for 3 years, I thought he was already retired. I mean, how many retirements is it? Juan Manuel Marquez, as much as I loved him fighting, I just don't understand why this guy constantly was in the news talking about who he wants to fight next. I mean, he just wouldn't let it go. As far as I'm concerned, he was already retired. And one last retirement, which shocked me, is Timothy Bradley announces his retirement over the weekend. Which surprised me, Sal, because Timothy Bradley, in my mind, is a pound-for-pound top fighter. And to be honest with you, I thought that he had several good fights left in him. And I don't think he's that great of an announcer with Teddy Atlas on ESPN. So I'm not sure. Maybe he's made enough. Maybe he's looking at it this way. But what do you think on these three retirements, Klitschko, Bradley, and Juan Manuel Marquez?
Well, Marquez, yeah, I like you said, I think he should have. I thought he was retired, but yeah, that's not a bad way for him to officially announce it. Klitschko, you could see definitely case it's time, and Timothy Bradley, although I think he still has a couple fights in him, but hey, why not? Maybe he's found a new home with announcing, and maybe he thinks he's going to be able to walk away and stay away. But if he does, and if he still is capable of putting on some world-class talent exhibition, we might see him back. Who knows? But I can't disagree. If a fighter feels he's looked in the mirror and he says it's time, guess what, guys? It's time. So I give them all credit, and I wish them all good luck.
So we got speaking of TMZ, and speaking of all the joke of what we call McGregor-Mayweather.
What fight now? That's the farce or the fight?
Well, it's the same, but
synonymous.
Floyd Mayweather has been bragging, saying that he's going to make more than $300 million.
Let the IRS know that they're going to want to have
for that fight, which is pretty. Yeah, exactly. Guy can't pay his taxes, but he's bragging about that. He says he's the highest paid athlete out there. And he says, we're not talking about making contracts with anybody. He says, I can make $300 million in 36 minutes. And that's a sad truth about Floyd. Conor McGregor's going to make about $100 million for the fight as well. So we'll see what happens. Now, things aren't going so great with the promotion of this fight, Sal.
I almost forgot it.
As a matter of fact, nothing is coming up to the way that they thought that it would in terms of in terms of meeting the expectations of sales and everything else. Let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about. First and foremost, they've been going to now. Everywhere I go, people ask me about this fight, and they ask me what's my thoughts and everything else. And I always tell them, McGregor, as much as I'll be rooting for him to land that lucky punch, his best chance of winning this fight is if Floyd happens to trip and fall when the bell rings and knocks himself out, because that's the only chance that McGregor has. And when Paulie Malignaggi was brought in, the first thing I said to you was, Sal, do you really believe that this is for real? Paulie Malignaggi is the announcer for Showtime. Showtime they're trying to get as many people ready to buy this fight as possible. Well, then, all these fans that believe what Mayweather says, this is why it's so sad. Mayweather last week said that, they're trying to bluster because ticket sales are down. They have not sold out. There's thousands of tickets left for the live event. They're not even selling out the closed circuit venues in Vegas. So I said this when it happened. The best part of the event was the press conferences. You're not going to get more entertainment from the fight. And oh, by the way, they don't even talk about the undercard.
What undercard? There's
exactly,
an undercard.
There is. Mayweather last week started saying that how much he's going to knock out McGregor. Mayweather can't knock anybody out unless it's an illegal punch like he did to Victor Ortiz.
He'll knock out McGregor. He'll wear him down.
He's going to knock him out. But so he's saying that he wants to use 8-ounce gloves just to give a beating. Now Conor McGregor was complaining that he could that Mayweather was using the 10-ounce gloves because he knew that McGregor could knock him out. And he also complained about the little girly, weak, fragile hands that Floyd has. Well, here's the truth of the matter, boys and girls. Floyd Mayweather can't fight this fight with 8-ounce gloves unless the commission approves it. Anybody that's in that weight class has to use 10-ounce gloves. That's a commission rule. Now, if you want, you're allowed to fight with bigger or smaller gloves, but you have to request it from the commission in writing, I might add. Now, I'm not sure about Bob Bennett and the Nevada State Athletic Commission because, they seem to be a bunch of sap losing punks over there that let anything that Floyd wants to do happen. So who knows? And maybe they would. But as of now, there has been no request on Floyd Mayweather's part to change this fight from 10-ounce gloves to 8-ounce gloves. So that's a bullshit thing. All right. The second part is, I was just talking about Floyd bragging about making $300,000 and all of this. Well, he's out there spending $20,000 on a pocketbook, pissing money away for sneakers and all this stuff on their All Access or whatever. And he's bragging about this money, Sal, and the IRS, and he wonders why they're not, moving and giving him more time. Why he's got to do all this stuff. The whole thing with Paulie Malignaggi was a joke. It just bothers me. And the truth of the matter is, all the money that's being bet is being bet on McGregor, and I don't understand that part of it either. This whole thing is crazy. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts. I'm not going to deviate from my thoughts. I think it's a farce. I think it's bad for boxing, great for MMA, and I think that it's just a show. It's just it is an exhibition, getting the credibility and credit of a sanctioned real fight, and that's the shame of it. This is nothing more than an exhibition that's going to be credited and sanctioned as a real professional fight. That's my opinion. That's what I feel. That's it in a nutshell. I know every fighter that has laced those gloves on, stepped into a ring, and fought more than one round, and they're all saying that it's a farce. They have no interest. They don't even care to watch it, just for maybe entertainment purposes, which is what an exhibition is supposed to provide for you. I don't know. I'm not for it, and you know what? this will be good as far as an example where the fans are smarter than what the networks or what the people, what the promoters and what the sanctioning bodies take them for granted of being. Because you know what, they're the ones that really are going to be the drivers as far as the interest level. Who's going to buy the pay-per-view? Who's going to do this? You know, we're trying to get this fight down here. You watch this. If we don't pull the trigger, or if the sales are that flat, they're going to start saying, hey, you know what, instead of charging this much, we might charge that much. It's going to be supply and demand. Have these guys, you know, raise the level up to here, and there's not that much interest, they're going to start lowering it down to here.
Well, the prices are out of range. I mean, it's $100 for the pay-per-view to sit at home and watch it. $150 for a closed circuit broadcast in Vegas. If you go to one of the casinos that are going to have, you're going to spend $150 to sit in a closed circuit presentation, which is, you know, on a big screen and everything else. They also have the movie theater seats, which I believe are around $40 or $50 a piece. But yet there's thousands, and I want to say that again, thousands of tickets still available for the live fight. So they're not even selling out. I really believe, you know, and I said this before, the MMA fans are the type of, and no disrespect to any side of the fan either way, but I refer to them similar as NASCAR fans. And I go to these races. I love the NASCAR circuit. But the fan base are you know, beer drinking, pickup truck driving guys. You know, I mean, that's what it is. They're drinking the beer in the car, not while they're driving. I'm not suggesting that, but they're drinking the beer at wherever they're hanging out. Then they go into the venue.
Blue collar.
They go into the race and they watch the race, and then they come out and bring their coolers full of beer, whatever. The same type of fan is watching MMA, and what I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying this, is that they're frugal. They're not going to go, and boxing fans have a tendency. You know, one of the reasons that I like to gamble in casinos when there's a boxing event on is because boxing fans generally are gamblers. They come in, they spend money, they this, they blah, 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 blah. And I like that atmosphere. You don't get that with MMA and UFC. You get them all to come in for the event, and then they all leave and go someplace else. They're not hanging around at the casino, if they're even in a casino. You know, and the same thing is going to happen with this fight. They are going to go. I already know people that are having a pay-per-view party where one guy buys the pay-per-view and all the buddies are coming over to watch it. That's not typically, that's exactly. And that's not typically what happens in boxing. You know, so I don't think, and I said this, everybody told me I was wrong, especially the infamous Jeremy C. They all said I'm wrong. They all said I'm wrong that this fight is, people say that this fight, McGregor-Mayweather, is going to break all the pay-per-view records. I say no. I say it's not. It is not going to break the Mayweather-Pacquiao record because too many people are not going to buy it. Most boxing fans aren't going to buy it. The casual fan may, and the MMA/UFC fans will, but they'll buy it collectively. They're not going to all buy it. So, no, I don't think it's going to do well. And at the end of the day, I don't even think it's going to sell out, Sal.
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting to see because, you know, having empty seats at such a world event as this one is claimed to be is going to be bad. And, you know, you're going to see the casinos and hotels or in resorts start passing out tickets to some of their high rollers right away.
Well, that's not a sale. That's not a sale if they're giving a ticket away.
No, not what I'm saying is, but you don't want to see empty seats either.
Well, I mean, whatever. You know, I mean, it is what it is. You know, but I just don't think that it's going to do as well as people think. I really don't. I
first thought it would because you are picking up the fan base of the MMA, and but you pretty much hit it on the head unless you're wrong. You know, I might, because I earlier stated I think it's going to be a record-breaking pay-per-view event, but you know, I don't feel that electricity. I don't feel the interest is really all there.
Well, from a boxing standpoint,
from entertainment and boxing standpoint, you're right. No,
from a boxing standpoint, it's not there. you know.
No,
But
no.
hey, listen, later this week we're going to have our blast from the past, which is on Gene Fulmer. We didn't get to do it last week. Alex had an emergency that came up, so we are going to be doing it this week. We also are scheduled to have my man Larry Hazard join us. We'll talk to him about the fights. And also tomorrow we'll have Dax Khan come on and give us his thoughts on a bunch of stuff. He only seems to show up when he's going to be on the TV, when he's on the show. I don't see him in the chat room or nothing else. But I guess he wants the camera time, Sal. You know. But in any event, we'll be talking with Dax tomorrow. Not a busy weekend this week for fights, but next week we pick it up again. So we're anticipating some good stuff to talk about tomorrow. We will get into the fights for the WBC super middleweight fight. There's for the title. There's also a decent couple of young undefeated heavyweights fighting in the middle of September. We'll get into the Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn update, the WBA and Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. We'll get you more on that. So we got a lot of stuff cooking for later in the week. But first, let me say this. On this day, August 7th, in 1997, Roy Jones Jr. knocks out Montel Griffin in the first round, avenging his 9th round disqualification loss and regaining the WBC World Light Heavyweight title. That took place in Foxwoods in 1997. Yours truly was ringside. On this day in 1999, Stefano Zoff wins a 12-round decision over Julian Lorcy to win the WBA World Lightweight title. Took place in France. On this day in 1983, I keep telling you, this version of this guy was one of the best fighters of all time. On this day in 1983, Hector Macho Camacho knocks out Bazooka Lyman in the 5th round to win the vacant WBC World Junior Lightweight title, and that took place in Puerto Rico. Remember, the junior lightweight version of Hector Macho Camacho was nowhere near what some of you younger fans might have seen him in the latter part of his year. You got to go back and watch. Bazooka Lyman, it was a devastating.
I thought it was the Lamone.
Yeah, well, I call him Lyman Lamone.
Lamone. I got talking about some of the pronunciations.
Lyman, Lyman, Limon. But Bazooka Lamone. Lyman, whatever, was a heavy hitter. Go watch some of his fights.
He was. That's what the name Nick Bazooka was all about. It matched his name, you know.
On this day in 2005, Chris John knocks out Tommy Brown in the 10th round in Australia and is subsequently awarded the vacant WBA World Featherweight title. I love the way the WBA just awards titles, you know, when it's suitable for them. On this day in 1942, Manuel Ortiz wins a 12-round decision over Lou Scalia to win the World Bantamweight title. It took place in Hollywood, California. And finally, on this day, August 7th, in 1893, George Dixon knocks out Eddie Pierce in the 3rd round of a scheduled finish fight to retain his world featherweight title. That took place in Brooklyn, New York. In case you guys don't know, a fight to the finish, or a finish fight, was a fight that had to end via a knockout. And that took place on this day in 1893 when George Dixon knocked out Eddie Pierce in Brooklyn. Hey, man, once again, I want to apologize for all of our YouTubers that missed the first part of the show. And we want to make sure that everybody knows that we are going to be back full force tomorrow, and unfortunately, including our commercials. Today we went commercial free. But until that time, Sal, what?
I got a story. I got a story for you. You're going to love it.
We'll finish it. Tell us.
Do we have time?
Is it a long story?
Well, I can make any story long. I give you a short version.
Can you give us the story tomorrow?
If you rather do it tomorrow, I can expand upon it. But you're gonna love this story. I'm not gonna tell you till tomorrow.
Sounds good.
But if you want me to save it, I'll save it. But you're gonna love it, and I love it, and I'm gonna forget about it. Okay, go ahead.
Sal's got a story. He's got a story for all of us tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.